same way. Only keep the fam around me. So let me know what it's gon' be. I don't plan on getting no sleep while we doing nothing, moving too fast. Candy paint with the windows up. Scramble late, what they gon' say? Hit the top down, spending money and things. We up till 6 in the morning. When the sunrise, we'll be on it.
Hello, DJ Shells.
Tell me when to go, baby, when we gon' slide, baby, when we gon' slide, slide, slide.
All right, y'all. The Fleet DJ Cafe, the Producer Cafe is coming up next in 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
You're now in the mix with the Commander-in-Chief.
Now playing
DJ Shells.
Somebody said they saw you. The person you were kissing wasn't me, and I would never ask you. I just kept it to myself. I don't wanna know if you're playing me. Keep it on the low, 'cause my heart can't take it anymore. And if you're creeping, please don't let it show. Oh baby, I don't wanna know. Oh baby, I think about it when I hold you. But looking in your eyes, I can't believe I need to know the truth. Baby, keep it to yourself. I don't wanna know if you're playing me. Keep it on the low, 'cause my heart can't take it anymore. And if you're creeping, please don't let it show. Oh baby, baby.
What kind of girl do you think I am? It's just too soon, can't you understand? I'm not the kind of girl who has to. I lay it down before I fall in love. It's been kind of unreal with you, but baby, you've got to slow down. Yeah,
Is that it? Are we got one more joint?
you say you want to be the one for me. You say you want to be the one I need, but then you go and act so crazy. You say you never want to let me go. You say you want to be the one I hold. You say you never want to let me go, but then you go and leave me lonely. If you want to make things right, love can't take away. If you want to take the time, act like
I don't know if you could take it. No, you wanna see me naked, naked, naked. I wanna be a baby, baby, baby. Spitting in his wedges like he came from Maytag. Like a listen on the brownie. When I get like this, I can't be around you. I'm too little to dim down the notch. Cause I can name some things that I'm gon' do. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, 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 thoughts. Wow, wow, wow. When I'm with you, all I get is wild thoughts. Wow, wow, wow. When I'm with you, all I get is wild thoughts.
Hey, all right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2020 Fleet DJ Virtual Music Conference. We are in our last event of the conference. I'm a little sad. Even though it's virtual, I had a really great time with everybody, and I hope all of you that attended thus far have had a great time as well. Don't forget to follow Fleet DJs on all social medias and keep in touch with everything we got going on. We are a movement, we are worldwide, and we are here to serve you all. So up next we have the Producer Cafe. So we have some really dope producers in our Fleet DJ producer crew. DJ P Money and Music Maestro are your hosts for our next and last event of the conference. Don't forget to drop your social medias in the chat room so everybody can follow you. Let people know what it is that you do. Once again, this is a networking event, so let's network and get to know each other. P Money and Music Maestro, take it away.
What up, everybody? Maestro, where you at?
Yo.
What's good, man? Turn that camera on, man.
Hold on.
Yeah, what up?
What's going on?
Ain't nothing, man. How you?
I'm good. I'm alright.
Everybody, we want to welcome y'all to the 2020 Virtual Fleet DJ Conference. This is the Producers Cafe. I'm one of your hosts, DJ P Money, with the Grammy nominated man, Mr. Music Maestro. And you brought us a special guest, man.
Yeah, man. I bought a big dog. I bought my guy, real good dude. DJ Shock. Yo, you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Do you guys want to do this panel style in the beginning, or how you want to do it, Pete?
Yeah, we can do a panel style.
On you three? Okay.
Yeah.
I need everyone to turn your mics off. Turn your cameras off, except for our host and our special guest for tonight, DJ Shock. So that I can get them. Everybody else, please turn your cameras off. All right, you guys can proceed. I'll go ahead and set it up.
All right. Go ahead, Maestro.
Yo, yeah. So DJ Shock, former Rough Riders producer, DMX, Locks, Snoop, Jada, Busta, Ride Digger, Fat Joe, Big Pun, host of others. Yo, Shock, where you at, man? I see you in there. Came up, bro.
Yo, what's up? Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. Talk to everybody.
That's what's up, Shock. I'm P Money from the Fleet DJs, man. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Good to meet you. Very good to meet you.
Absolutely.
What's up, Maestro?
And you know me. What up, Shock?
I love you.
All right, so pretty much, I guess you know what? I already told you what we gonna do. Let's get started. So let's run through your catalog, and we're gonna talk about some of these records real quick.
Yeah, man. So you want me to run through it, or just go through some stuff?
Are we playing?
I got it. We got it.
Okay.
We got it. I chose some record, Shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you You want to talk about the track first, or you want to play it first?
I don't know what you playing first. That's the thing. So it's pretty much in your corner.
All right, so we're gonna play it first, and then we'll talk to Shock about the track.
Cool.
Yeah, we can do that.
Sometimes you gotta send a woman do a man's job, you know what I mean? In this case, my girl hit like a grown motherfucking man. That niggas better lay low. Catch you where it hurt, you know what I mean? Blow your balls off, nigga. Yo, where my girl at? Quick to bust the Mac, but never leave that. She always got my back, nigga 12 that. About to blaze the sack, where the weed at? She don't know how to act, cause that's my girl black. Put that Boston back, better believe that. You know the Bronx is back, she represent that. Cause every squad in the back to take that. My niggas love is crack.
I inhale the deepest, hop back and bust rhymes at the speakers. I'm trouble, shoot out the air bubbles in your sneakers. The type to cop a range along with all the features. Then take the back streets to avoid the leeches. A pregnant bitch talk shit, I'ma destroy her fetus. Her dead baby pop his pussy, and his boys can't beat her. Straight strong arm, bombarded and bogarted. Remy don't write her own rhymes, nigga. I beg your pardon, this is smart. And I done broke night in the studio writing while forwards don't get no publishing. Still be biting, they kill me lying. Like they the ones doing the scribing. When you can hear the ghostwriter all up in their rhyme, and I flows like water. Y'all just drizzle a little seed. Catch me with honey and skittles in the middle of little Italy. Y'all don't know bitterly. I spit hot and drop shit. Every time I kick a rhyme, pun out burn my lip. Take another pull, bust another shot. Y'all can't stop me. Come through in a jail suit and a new beef and broccoli's doing it. If I'm having a good time and you ruin it, I seen the nice casket that is a girl with you in it. You want proof shit?
Yeah. All right.
All right, so yo, Shock. That's an important record right there for those who may not have never heard it, but it was on Big Pun's album, God Bless His Soul. It was on the Yeah Baby album, and you're actually responsible for officially introducing Remy Martin to the world. So let's talk about the creation of that record, how that came about.
Yeah, I mean, I got the beats to Big Pun through his cousin Ray. We went straight to Pun's house. I played him some beats, and that was like the beginning of our relationship there. And like we were pretty tight. He's a real good dude. Very, very, very creative. Like we were actually working on doing some R&B stuff, like right around when he passed away. And he's super creative, and me and him connected pretty good because he didn't have only influences within hip hop, and so he was kind of like me in that way, where I have like a wide range of music I listen to, and you can hear that too in his music, because you'll notice he takes a lot of rhythms and especially choruses, and he does some things that are a little bit outside of the box on some of his songs that throughout the process when he was recording like the Yeah Baby album, a lot of times he would be doing something, and because he was so creative, a lot of people would be questioning some of the records throughout the process, but when they were finished, that's when everybody would see what he was trying to do. And so he was a super creative dude. That record in particular, that I didn't know, like Remy was gonna get on that one. Remy had been hanging around the studio a lot because I'd been at that time I was going to all the different sessions because Terror Squad had a label deal with Atlantic, and I was basically in all the sessions with the whole crew, just doing tracks with everybody. And Remy was around, and then I came in and Pun had picked that beat, and they were writing together. They were sitting there, and he had been saying how she was a beast and everything. I had never really heard her, and so I saw them kind of like mouthing some of the lyrics, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be cool. And she went in there, and it's a classic. That introduced Remy to the world. It was definitely an underground banger at the time. That people got to see that Remy had bars, like serious bars on that one. And Pun was intentionally like introducing her to the world. Like he was like, this is his girl, and he wanted everybody to know that she was gonna rap for TS. And she made a statement on there, and to this day, she's still in the game. So what did I use? So I can go into what I used to create the beat too. I think that one I did on the Kai S950 the sound came from, I believe, the Proteus. The that was the Proteus played out. That one didn't have a sample or anything like that. Drums were S950. I sequenced it on the Roland MC50, which is like an old beatbox. Like even when I was using it, it was old. So it's a Roland MC50. If any of you guys want to Google that, it has the cool thing about that machine. It has like a like Prince used a certain machine. And when you use a certain machine, it has a certain sort of swing to it. Like you guys probably, a lot of you guys know that produce. In the not on the panel. I'm saying everybody watching. They have a certain swing, and the MC50 had a certain swing, and I stopped using it, and I regret stop using it sometimes because it was a big part of my signature. Like from 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, I was using the MC50 a lot, and I probably should have stayed using it because it was part the rhythm of the beats I was making with it. It was a big part of my sound. So
All right. Shock, out of everybody you worked with, bro, who would you say was your most favorite, and who was the one that you really hated to work with?
All right, my favorite human was Eve. Amazing, beautiful person. Like no fakeness at all. Love Eve to death. Beautiful person. It was a joy just to hang out with her and do music because she was such a bright person. Like she was a shining type of person. Okay. Who was difficult? Yeah. Jada was difficult. Jada, yeah, because Jada's like very like you give him a beat, he'll be like he'll put it on, he'll do this. Like to get him to do something, like he's very moody. So it was like he goes in and he kills it. So once he does it, it's like it's a 10-minute thing. Okay. But there would always be this like months of like, yo, is Jada gonna do it? No, I don't know. This and that. Yeah, he's gonna get to it, or he's gonna do this, or he's doing that, or yeah, this is. And so it was more not so much working with him, but that process of like, whereas like X, it was like we'd be doing his album. We'd go in there for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We'd all be doing beats, and he'd hear a beat and he'd be like, let's go. And it was like from him picking the beat to finishing the record was like in that same 4 or 5 hour period. So that was cool, So like Jada was like this process of like, you give it to him, he sits with it. His man tells you, yo, he's writing to it. Yeah, he likes it. All right, cool. This and that. And so it's like it could take months to the point where you give up on it. And then finally he's like, yo, we're going to do that tonight. I'm like, oh, okay. So that was kind of the difficult part. But as far as personality or anything, I mean, when you're doing work with people, for the most part, you don't always get into a personal relationship with them. Right. So I would say nobody really was like terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like on an artist level, I don't have any bad, terrible stories of people who were just like complete jerks or anything like that. Okay. Nothing like that.
So you would tell the producers here at Fleet that if they had a situation, just concentrate on the music and not worry about the relationship?
Well, I wouldn't say that because you can't. The thing is, the relationship is complicated because when you're in the music business, everything flows in the currency of money. So it's a complicated thing because in life you don't flow in the currency of money. So it's tricky because true relationships don't have anything to do with money. So you're in this tricky situation where your relationships are based on how much of an asset you can be at the moment. They're based on the flow of money, and the currency is different than like a real relationship that where you care about somebody and it's a friend of yours, and those things can't be forced. So it's sort of like you have to learn to have, in the music business, you have to learn to have different types of relationships, in my opinion. Because you may get lucky where you you work with someone who's you just connect with. Right. And it's just great. You're like, damn, this person, we see eye to eye on stuff. And then even maybe you get lucky where even on life stuff, you're like, man, I really dig this person. And then like, we really connecting. But you can't force something like that. So I would say the main thing in the music business relationships, the advice I would give is follow up on follow-ups and follow through on your projects. So those are two giant things because people forget. They're so busy. They're running around doing shows. These are artists. They're not like producers where we go into a cave and we zone out. They're actually traveling the world, doing tons of different media things they don't want to do. So that their mind is clouded with different things that we don't deal with as producers as much, unless we're like a giant superstar producer. And I think that we need to be understanding of that. We need to remind them, but not be a nag. Yo, what up? Because they'll forget. You know how many times I've said, yo, they'll be like, yo, thank you, Shock. I forgot about that one. Because, you know, so many people send them beats and be like, yo, I love that one. Let's do that. And there's been moments when I'll say that and they'll be like, yo, is anybody in the studio today? And they'll be like, nah, man. They're like, yo, let's go today. I'll meet you at this time. And so you gotta just, you know, not be a jerk about it and be like, yo, what's up with that beat I gave you? You said you were gonna, you're gonna take a loss on a relationship at that point, because people don't have time for that kind of nonsense, because they need business to be business, you know, and be straightforward, and it can't be sort of that kind of childish behavior. Is not really going to get you far. It's just going to put you on a side, because there's a lot of people with good music and they may be stuck between, they might have been thinking about for the last hour between your beat and somebody else's beat, because they wanted to do a certain type of song and they both fit it. Now you just became an a-hole and they're like, yo, I am not rocking with this dude, you know?
Okay. Well, we're going to get into this next joint.
Hey, yo, hold on. Yo, Shop.
Yes.
So this next record, right? Can y'all hear me better now?
Yeah. Sounds better without that kind of, you were freezing and like,
All right, yeah. All right, so I kind of discovered that you did this record not too long ago, but I should have known, because a lot of your signature sounds is in this record. This was a big underground but controversial record right here. Let them rock.
Curious to see what this is.
The background ad-libbing or nothing. You heard? Jada, holla.
That wasn't gonna see me. JSP, we coming to get you, baby. Shit, you next. Fat, smelly motherfuckers. Deep burn trying to get at me, baby. I see you. Can't fuck with your man, dog. We get it on niggas don't need no hugs. We ain't deep block, man. We got knife work, gun work. We got all kind of work. You guys niggas the fuck off. See me when you see me. I don't want to have no one. Yo, fuck you. What? Yeah, bitch. Yo, when I met you, you was on my dick. Jigga gave you his old Bentleys. Now you on some shit. I don't know where they found you, son. But since your pops ain't around, I'ma punish you and ground you, son. And niggas can't stand you, Siegel. Your flow is mine anyway, so don't bite the hand that feeds you. The niggas that gassed you is ass too. Trust me, them niggas don't wanna shoot vibes. They trust you, believe it or not, ghetto is mine. And when I see you, I'ma put your cornrows on the yellow lines. I got niggas in Philly that been where you live. Fuck Scarface, my bullets hit women and kids. Worst mistake.
Yeah.
I would have guessed that was the one you had, but I did that.
All right, so Shop. Did you come up to fire with anything with that record?
You know what? This is perfect, because I can explain why Jade is a pain perfectly on this record, because that beat was supposed to be for Olivia, who was on J Records, a remix,
right? And
they were gonna give us, like, I was getting like $20K. It was like a stupid payoff, you know, those nice featured payoffs, you know, at the time back in the day. I mean, we don't hear about that anymore. And I'm like excited. So this is one of those chases, you know, with Jada. He's like, yeah, you know, we're gonna do it, everything. I'm like, all right, cool. And so he been vibing with that beat. It was supposed to be for Olivia. So this is the twists and turns of, you know, of these, you know, these working in the studio relationship. So I lost a gang of money just because he used that beat, because that's the one they wanted to use. So he went, and I get to the studio and this whole thing was happening, this beef. So I get there and I'm like, oh shit, why is hopefully this beat is playing, because we're about to do the verses for the Olivia record. And because it was like a package thing, you know, Jada and Shock. And then I hear what he's doing. I'm like, oh damn, that's the end of that record. And then the thing is, I'm not even like, you know, I'm not on no thug life at all. Like, you know, you've even told me that much. You're like, yo, you make these hard records and you're not nothing like the music you make. And it's true. You know, it's just, that's the type of music I'm good at making, and it flows. And I mean, I've been in hip hop since I was 10 years old. I'm 45, so even in the early stages of it, you know, from breaking and everything, like my brother was related with the New York City Breakers and stuff. So like that's hip hop is in my blood. So that's what makes me still hip hop, even though I wouldn't say that I was into that lifestyle like the Locks were and stuff. But back to that song. So he even shouts me out at the end. I'm like, dude. Like, I'm like, this is, you shout me out on your album. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't shout me out on this. Like, this is the type of stuff
you did it again.
Yeah, it's like, really, like on this. Put me on a record and shout me out so I can hear it on the radio and not be in the middle of some beef and be like, yo, who's shocked? He wanted to, you know, it's like, nah, man. But he killed it, and that's a classic. And that's the story behind it. It was that's why he's like lounging on his disco beat, because it was, you know, that's that old break that, you know, and it just worked, you know. And that was my little trademark, my record, woo, all that stuff, you know, which someone totally adapted and adopted. That's another conversation.
Okay.
I know who you talking about, but we're gonna leave that alone because
I'm not shy about it. So
hey, I
speak the truth. I speak the truth.
Hey, listen. I asked you,
and
I adopt one of your sounds.
Oh yeah, but you
gave me the blessing. So that's
I gave you the blessing. It gave you the blessing.
Sir.
Yeah, it's one. It's a whole different thing.
We might get into that later.
All right.
So since you brought up the radio, you know, let's start getting to the hits. You know, and also, you know, there's a little controversy behind this record almost 10 years later, but let's play the origin of the controversial record. Let's go.
Okay.
Right now, we ain't playing with y'all. Stop playing. Yo, I spit these bars to make your head shake. Fuck bitches to the bed break. I see how much lead you can take. Never let a nigga pay for what I give away. We can all share. Whips on my waist, it's all spare. So run, damn it, run. When I bust my gun, I miss none. Put y'all in cradle condition. I'm the talk of the town. When it come to fucking bitches off, laying niggas down, bust the most rounds. While y'all niggas tickle and dabble. Shit, I pull up with it doesn't feel like a gradual. We ain't fucking, I had you. Shit, I don't brag, but we glad to. If I had to, soon as she in the bathroom or in the ashtray, got a 6-shot shooter that I pop through your dog hooker. In case I call my block moving state troopers on my ass shit. Let me see them catch 160 on the dash. Come on, I see the pretty when it's fast. I bet 50 I'ma use the city for I'm gone. And if y'all wanna catch fire, better step on the gas. Consider H2O, wanna be a hero. When the fire's on, y'all won't even see your arm. Even if she was screaming at the top of her lungs. Niggas either burn to the bone or be that board alone. In case of a fire, never take the elevator. Walk through life, hold your breath and take the steps on. You my lady, run this baby, run this
All right, P Money.
Shock.
Yes.
Let's talk about this one.
Okay. So that's same stuff. That's the 950. I also I was loving that Proteus for some reason at that moment. It was giving me some nice sounds. That's from the Proteus. Yeah. So that that's an interesting one too, because they hated that beat, that Rough Riders. I played that beat so many times and I couldn't understand why they didn't like it. I felt it was an incredible track. I felt like, you know, it had so much good energy to it, and I thought it you know, with Drag, I thought it would give him a nice sort of a bounce because he's so fast with it, and I thought it would be a nice place for him to kind of lean into, because I would hear Drag spitting all the time, and he wasn't just but you know, that kind of like that down south stuff, which and I was like, man, this is something he could lean into, in my opinion. So anyway, played it, and this is another thing. This is a good advice for producers out there. Timing, the mood in the room. So I played that beat different times. One time, you know, if the mood in the room is a certain way, you kind of have to flow with it. You know, if these type of tracks people are like moving to, and one night, man, it was just the right moment, and I put that on, and even though I had played it many times, all of a sudden people went berserk. the Rough Rider sessions were crowded, easy 20 people easy in a room at any given time. So many of us at that time.
Okay.
And I put it on, and people lost it. And then it was like, we need that for drag, and then they really worked on the way he flowed on that. Like him and Darren really sat there for a long time. I remember writing. That wasn't one of those we just did. It was one of they consciously crafted that record to have him have a more New York, Biggie kind of like, got a 6 shot, like that whole kind of feeling to it. The way he was grooving on it, it was supposed to show drag. Like, not only can I do that other stuff, but that bounce, but I can just sit on this New York vibe like nothing too, And then the controversy behind that beat is that Swiss basically stole it years later, redid it, and didn't say a word to me or at all, and I kind of dropped out of the music thing like complete, like I wasn't even following anything. And then Maestro actually was like, "Yo, did you hear that track? It sounds." I'm like, "No, I didn't." And it was like years later. It was already old. It was already like 3 or 4 years old. And so I listened to it, and I'm like, "Dang!" I was like, "Wow, this is spit these bars." And it's like, man, clear it. Give me a 25% on that or something. Like, don't just steal it like it's yours, But that was that's kind of like, in my opinion, that was one of the difficult things about the Rough Rider camp is like it's a family. And there's a sense of entitlement for, when it's your family that owns the business.
Right.
You sort of get this like sense of entitlement, like everyone else is just kind of lucky to be there, And that kind of that attitude where he just took it and just did it and didn't even think that he needed to get permission or anything. That's the kind of energy that had because of that. The environment was like that. It was just that way, and so it didn't surprise me that he felt entitled to just do something like that, and that he didn't even have to clear it. And we even went back and forth on Instagram one time about it, and even his responses were like very like you're lucky I even like very arrogant, like I'm lucky he even gave me a nod, like he's such a god that I should just be like, oh, God copied my beat, I'm so lucky type of thing. There's no humility. So.
Let me tell it, Shock, especially, coming from a branch off of that Rough Rider family, I was with Grease, but, there's the history of Old Boy, sounding like Grease, sounding like PK, sounding like you. So, I mean,
yeah,
y'all raised them.
Well, what it is like, look at it like this. You're a young producer. He's a super talented producer. I'm not taking that from him. He's great. He's great at what he does. He's a great showman. He's a great record producer. He even helped put together that record a bit, to spit these bars when he did the hook and everything. He's an excellent producer. But what happens is in that environment, because you feel so entitled, because it's your family, it's your uncles who own it, he didn't feel like he was stealing. It's just like, that's the sound. That's our sound. Shock is contributing to our sound. It's like, it's different. It's sort of corporate, So I don't think he even has a sense that he stole or borrowed. And politically, you have to be very careful. Like, I'm the only one who will outright say this, because I'm not in the business. So it doesn't matter to me. Like, they can do whatever they want, blackball or whatever. It doesn't mean I'm not out there trying to get on any records right now. I've changed like my life, and I'm in a different direction, so I don't count on it to feed my family. So, because a statement like I just made is it'd be over. So anyone who's still doing music can't be as honest as me. I have the privilege of being able to just be completely truthful and honest about the situation, whereas many people can't, because the political nature of the business and the small group of people who are doing well in the business, it's so small, you got to bite your tongue a lot. I mean, I have some excellent stories, not even dealing with Rough Riders, just in general, of me biting my tongue, and then at the right moment, everything just kind of falls into place because I held back, saw what was happening, wait. And that's another thing too, the business, what prepared me for that, not to get too deep here, but was I was the youngest of 5 kids in a kind of aggressive house. at least my siblings, like very like a Latino household,
Okay.
And I learned to shut up because I was the smallest. I was like, I couldn't do anything, and I learned to kind of wait to get my way, to do what I had to do, or to let them do this and let them do that, let them get over on this, and then at that right moment to be like, okay, now I can jump in because it's safe. And that's kind of how I survived at Rough Riders too, because I was the little kid. I was more powerless because I wasn't tied into the family, so I had to be quiet, wait, do this, do that, take this L, take that L, and then at that right moment be like, okay, here we go, and be ready for those moments,
All right. Yo, Shock, we gonna go to a couple of more records.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead, P Money.
This generation rules the nation with version.
Looking pretty in the video. In the cup, but you don't hear me though. When you think we done with hit show, we got plenty more. If he's the little mama, lip blasting Alana. The only shit popping like White Castle or the Donna. Rod digger make the joint stack, the DJ flat. Ghetto deeper in the source with the 3-page ad. Watch out the hood rap Messiah climb swiftly. Labels get to death to let they artists farm with me. Cause you can sing your thuggers and see and watch me stun them. The ruggedest bitch don't even rhyme about gunning. Joint circulating like the most karate flicks. Bunch of rod nigga shirts on some big body chick. Put my shit in your hoopty or your luxury truck and make the quickest turn around like broke for 20 bucks. And I still be the greatest if this rap shit sell me. Back to Jack and bootleg flick from out the deli. Living off the entry, sipping on tequila with my logo on the side of fucking 18-wheeler. The Imperial, you know you love it when you hear
Money.
it on the radio.
And her logo was on the side of an 18-wheeler. I saw it. Just FYI. That's a true story.
All right, Shock. So, I want to get to something I heard years ago about, per se, this song being in the whole batch of joints. I heard Busta purchased like a whole bunch of records from you, that being one of them.
Yeah. Man, Busta, I loved to go visit Busta because he really appreciated good beats, good music. And visiting Busta, first of all, he's a super welcoming person. So like you come and visit him and he's like, well, when you go to somebody's house and they're very welcoming, like going to see Busta in the studio was like that. And he would be so excited like to go through my beats. And he insisted that I bring all my beats. So we would be there going through hundreds of beats. And he's Busta, so I'm like, yeah, fine. You can go through all the beats you want. Hopefully you take as many as possible. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I got all my CD books, and he would go through, and his memory was insane because I would see him months later, and I would sneak a couple that he already heard because I thought that he should have took them. And he'd be like, yo, Shock, you played me that already. I'm like, damn. Like his memory on music is crazy. So I could only go see him with new music because he'd always catch me if I played anything again. But one of my favorite things is when his reaction to that beat. Like, if any of you guys ever work with Busta, like when he gets excited, it is the greatest thing in the world. Like he lost his mind when that came on. He was just like, Shock,
the walls and
Shock, you stupid. Shock, what is wrong with you? Going crazy, and man, to see Busta, like such an amazing artist, to get excited over your music. That's why I was in the music business, and that's why I was in it, for that excitement to work with these great artists, to work with creative people, the joy of music. And the unfortunate thing is like when you're like in hip hop, you're like stuck in this really, for lack of a better word, shitty environment where people just, it's very cutthroat. It's very this. It's very, I could go through on and on. and it kind of kills the joy of music and hip hop. And like, you know, remember, I come from at 10 years old. I'm trying to break. I'm listening to, you know, the early 80s hip hop. Like, I love hip hop. Like, my son breaks. You know what I'm saying? My son's in the Dynamic Kids from the Dynamic Rockers. Kid Glide teaches him. Like, hip hop is like such a part of my family. Like, my lineage, I'm hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like, to the purest form of it, minus, you know, the gangster portions of it. That actually came more later, you know, the storytelling of what went on, you know, but the actual trying to incorporate the actual gun violence and stuff like that came years later. Okay. From the inception, like that being in it. So I'm from that earlier part where it was more, in my opinion, you had songs like The Message. There was honesty about what was going on in the street, but bringing that into the music as a form of you know, macho type of thing, that came later. And so, you know, I mean, that's kind of just the train of thought that for some reason that came over me, you know, thinking about that. But you know, it Busta, that again, I should have stayed with my MC50, bro. I was making heaters with that MC50. That MC50 and the same that was from I want to say that was from, I don't know if it was from the Triton rack with all the sound cards, or I can't remember if it was from the Trinity. One of those two. One of those two. And that was actually made for a doo-wop mixtape originally. And my friends came over for this group, The Faculty, and they wanted to do a freestyle for doo-wop, and I just made the beat for them. So it's originally on the doo-wop tape, and thank God Busta didn't hear it, because he's very, very particular about a beat he uses never being heard before, because he actually put back one of my beats, because like a dummy I put it on the Rough Rider sample. Then that's one of Maestro's beats. And yeah, you know that he was gonna write to that. Imagine Busta Rhymes on that. He was gonna do that record. He had the beat, and then he's like, "Dog." God. He's like, "Yo, I can't do that now." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Nah, I only do exclusives. People heard that beat now." I'm like, "Oh no, idiot." That hurt. That hurt a lot, man. That hurt hip hop to me, because I feel like that would have been a great record.
That beat, oh my God, goddamn. All right, so yo, Shock. We're gonna drop 3 more records, and we're gonna chop it up on the business side, some business things, you know.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so this next one of my favorite Shock records. Drop that, Pete.
Oh.
Come on, ride with me, ride with me. Smoke with me. Come on. Down these streets. Bounce. Yeah. Yo. Take a trip to the Beverly Center and scoop a mean model broad up, dog, and get head in the renter. Gotta take her home, clean her up before I could finish, cause ain't no pussy worth getting burnt while I'm up in it. Then I made her roll up while I was running the back, and she said she do X. I gave her 1.5, let her get a roll on and made her jump in the bath and left her standing there saying, come through in the orange M5, and I got them things in the trunk and they gone for 10-5. It could and it will get ugly, but so what? No matter how it go down, the hood is still love me. Never cuff broads, I let everybody hit them. My bullets is like chicken pox, everybody get them. No J, blow Coude, looking for something to slay, mixing the yak with ocean spray. Come on.
Nah, you were supposed to let Snoop rock. You were supposed to let Snoop rock. Now you could drop it. You can drop it. You drop it.
Bust a bitch inside a motherfucking head to shoot to it. Limp on her, flip on her, dip on her, crip on her. This on her bitch.
Yeah, that was one of the highlights of my career when I heard Snoop on one of my beats. Easily, that was when, because I wasn't there and Jada sent that the reel to, you know, it's back when we used reels, right? He sent that out to I don't know if it was, no, maybe it was Pro Tools, I don't remember. Because we went from Reels to Pro Tools in like, from 99 to 2000 maybe something.
That was Pro Tools.
I think that was Pro Tools.
Yeah, that was early Pro Tools.
So they sent that session out, and I was like, man, he's going to, you don't believe it until you hear it, until I heard Snoop on there, because things change, man. I had a record with Gwen Stefani at one time, and that changed. Like, things change, like in the business. One day you got the single, the first jump off, and then the next day it's not even on the album. That's happened to me. Like, you got the first single, it's not gonna make the album. It's like, okay.
The dope thing about that record, like, it sounds really like no other Shock record. It's really different from what you known for and what you've done.
That you know why that is? Because I went to Tower Records and I was like digging for stuff, like, and I would buy sometimes like old school CDs, and I saw this like California Lowrider compilation, and I was like, yeah, what the hell is this? Let me just pick it up, and it's actually sort of the music isn't a sample, but the chorus we redid what the original is, and I just took kind of that Rider feel. Like, I didn't sample it, but it was like, that they have this like slow kind of like dun, 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 and that's what I wanted to recreate, that vibe with a little more modern sound. And I really like the 50s kind of vibe of the singing, I wanna do, like that kind of, like, I was trying to put it in a 50s kind of vibe, and just sort of a fusion of different eras and stuff, and it worked, man. They liked it, and even the bass line, I did it in a way where it wasn't like heavy, like 808ish, like very subish. I wanted it to be kind of like, I don't know, it's just different. It's true. I worked hard to make that record different. I wanted it to feel like the CD I was listening to, that crude lowrider type of thing,
Okay. So this next joint, we got two more, right? You got something you want to add, P Money?
Nah, bruh, like that Imperial beat, I had no idea that was you, man, and that was just. When I first heard that track, I think I reacted the same way you said Busta did. I was bouncing off the walls when I heard that track.
Thank you.
Just incredible.
Me too. Yo, Shock, this next joint, it was a big mixtape record. Big. I remember I used to hear this joint in the streets. It was in the streets like crazy, and then it made a movie in the soundtrack. You look lost. You don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm always lost. With my catalog, I'm like, I don't think about my catalog as much.
Hey, yo, listen, I'm just coming up with all this from the head because I know you. So like everything I'm coming up with, like I came up with all this stuff like within the last hour. P Money will tell you I sent the music in the last hour.
All right.
So when you got a relationship with somebody, it's easy to talk to them about they shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yo, P Money, drop that shit. No, not that one. No, not that one.
See, I'm confused. I don't know what it is.
Oh,
duh. Of course. Yeah.
No doubt.
This rang in the club a little bit too.
Yeah.
Go, Skaggy. What's up? You see me? Don't say shit, nigga. Grab your burner. Bust off. Yo. Hey yo, you know that motherfucker shit. Nooch is a gladiator, like Russell Crowe with my heat in a radiator. I come through slow, you out there, I'm letting it go. I got fire for your duck, you on license, bro. Like that's why I ain't got mercy for pigs. Off the roof, I let shit parachute to their wigs and their kids. I treat their face like I'm going to my safe. 10 to the left, 6 to the right. 240 pounds and I ain't trying to fight. Yeah. What up?
People up?
We need the bomb.
I don't know what happened, P Money, but we get the point after. We'll talk about that.
Oh man! So should I jump in on that record?
Yeah, jumping on that one.
All right. So once again, I should have stayed with my Roland MC50. Damn, what a combination! That 950, the Roland, all my hits. So that record was interesting because I actually have this still. I have the original with all 3 verses. That was Chic's record. So, what happened was I was trying to get it. I had this guy Mark Brown at Atlantic, and he was like, "Yo, you got anything for the soundtrack Training Day?" I'm like, "I don't know. You know, let me see what I got." And I had done this record with Sheik, and I was like, "Damn, let me send it over there, see if he likes it," because Sheik was trying to start his solo stuff, and we were doing all the D Block stuff. And I was like, this would be a good look for Sheik to me, you know, like, yo, a solo joint on a soundtrack, perfect setup, you know. It's like, all right, let me send it over. And he was like, yo, they love it, but they want it to be a Lox record. You know, they had the budget. They're like, yo, we want a Lox record. So I had to convince Sheik, which was crazy difficult, because he was like, yo, that joint is fire, and he killed it. You know, when Sheik just goes, you know, and he doesn't miss at all, and he just kills it. It was one of those, and he wanted it to be like something to make a statement.
Right.
But I'm like, Sheik, man, that record, if you guys, it's gonna be a good record, and this and that. And then I told him how much they were paying, and so it took a while. And he was like, yo, I'll do it for you, because I had been doing basically all his early solo stuff. That all his early stuff is produced by me. It was just me and Sheik in the studio, basically in the very beginnings of D Block. Okay. Even early J Hood stuff, all that stuff was just me, basically doing all of it. And so he kind of did it in a way for me, you know, to be like, yo, you've been looking out, you know, and all right, let's do it. So then he gave it the green light, and when he gave it the green light and he took it to, you know, that's his group, that's his family. So he said, yo, we got to get on this for Shock. He wants to put it on Training Day, and he made that record happen, really. You know, I made it happen on the open door pot, you know, for it, but he made it happen on the inside. And so yeah, and I'm glad, because that was interesting. That was like as big as you can get without going into airplay all day. That's as big as an underground record can get to me. I never, you know, that's like that. It hit the ceiling with, you know, before you get airplay. Because that record was really, everybody was freestyling on the instrumental. Yeah, it was, right. If you put on the radio, that instrumental was in the background while Angie was talking. It was just that beat was just non-stop everywhere.
All right, Shock. So I'm quite sure you know what the last record is.
Yes, I do.
I'm quite sure you know what because
that one I know.
you can't interview Shock and not play possibly your biggest record, DMX's most important record. You cannot interview you and not play this record.
Yeah, man. And thank you for keeping it last, because when you put it first, it's like that's the only thing I'm good for. I mean, like, at least you gave me some value. You hooked me up nicely. You gave me value. You're like, look, he's done this stuff too. Because once you put this on it, it's all downhill.
Shock. It's Maestro. Come on.
Yes, thank you, Maestro. That's why I did it, man. That's why I did it.
All right. So, yo, drop that classic, because this record still goes off today.
Yes, sir.
Slight shit, yeah. Slight shit is like bump the fuck out. For real. See, to live, to suffer, to survive, well, that's to find meaning in the suffering. You know, slips, can't get up, slips, can't get up, slips, got to get up, get back on my feet so I can tear shit up. Hey, yo, I'm slips, can't get up, hey, yo, I'm slips, can't get up, hey, yo, I'm slips, got to get up, get back on my feet so I can tear shit up. I've been through mad different phases, like Mason, to find my way. And now I know that happy days are not far away. If I'm strong enough, I'll live long enough to see my kids doing something more constructive with the time than big. I know because I've been there. Now I'm in there. Sit back and look at what it took for me to get there. First came the bullshit, the drama with my mama. She got on some fly shit, so I split. Because then I'ma be that seed that doesn't need much to succeed. Strapped with mad greed, a heart that doesn't bleed. I'm ready for the world, or at least I thought I was. Bagging niggas when I caught a buzz. I'm thinking about how short I was. Going too fast and wouldn't last, so I couldn't tell. Loopholes in institutions, prepare my ass for jail. They put me in the situation, forcing me to be a man. When I was just learning to stand without a helping hand.
Damn, was it my fault for something my dad? To make the father leave his first kid at 7 doing my first bid. Back on the scene at 14, broke the skin to get more green than I'd ever seen. In the dream, and by all means, I wanna be living high off the hog. Never gave a fuck about much but my dog. That's the only motherfucker I'd hit off in my last. Just another little nigga headed nowhere fast. Hey, yo, I'm slipping. Can't get up. Yo, I'm slipping.
Alright, P-Money.
Can't get up. Yo, I'm slipping. Got to get up.
Yeah.
So, yo, Shock, I know you noticed somehow I still have the explicit version.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you remember, but you know, back when I like really first started production, I was an intern at Rough Riders for Gloria.
Yes.
Right. And I remembered they was talking about the possibility the only way that track would make the album is if there was no cursing.
Yeah. Yes. And do you know why?
Who was it?
Grover Washington Jr. Yes.
Yeah, he wasn't with it.
Nope.
He said he can use it, but it got to be clean.
Yeah, it got to be clean. Yeah, so that's how that happened.
There's so many conflicting stories I've heard about that record, and I recently saw you kind of correct somebody on social media about the record. I'm gonna let you talk about the record.
Yeah, I mean that record is basically it turned my career from at the time I was already an underground. Before I signed to Rough Riders, I was a well-known underground hip-hop producer. I had my own independent label. I had done a lot of stuff with Official Joints, which was an underground label. I had my label, and I was doing different work. And so I was putting out these records called Shock Beats Volume 1, Shock Beats Volume 2, and so people knew about me, but nothing, I never did a big record like that, and so at that moment I had just signed with Rough Riders, and again it's the Roland MC. It's the same. I should have stayed with that thing, man. That's the Roland MC50. That's the KS 950, and the Korg. I believe it's the M1. It's like a half rack box for all the percussions, all the hats, all the shakers. They're all off that little box, okay. And on that one, the way that record actually, I had just signed with Rough Riders. That was the first trip I went out, and it was interesting because I literally had just finally finished the negotiating, because I'd been negotiating it for a while, and finally actually signed, and they were like, okay, we were going to work on X's album in California. I went downtown, and then they had a limo take us to the airport. It was me, Grease, and PK. And
PK told me the story. He told me they was pissed.
They were pissed. Yes,
they was pissed.
So picture this: the new guy. I knew PK because PK from Yonkers, we're from the same area. I knew PK. He used to write. I used to write. I used to write Shock. He used to write Pent, and so we knew each other from Graph. And so we knew of each other, and I also knew he used to make beats too. So I get in there, and he's completely surprised. He's like, "Oh, he didn't know I was even signed." So these two are looking at me like, "Who's this guy?" And then they're finding out that most of the album's been completed, and they didn't even know it was being worked on, and Swiss did most of the album. So they're like, "Oh man, this is crazy. We basically did this first album together. They left us out, and now we're going over there." So I sort of, being the quiet kid, took advantage of the situation. I saw some conflict. I saw what was going on, and I knew when they got over there was going to be a little bit of like, whatever. They were going to go to investigate what was happening. So I got off, and right away I found a studio, and I started working in there. And luckily at that time, Swiss had taken a liking to me, and he grabbed X. And I think it was to my advantage, the fact that they were kind of like in a bad mood from what happened. And he went to me to be like, all right, let's play X some shock beats. Shock got some heat. So, it all worked for me at that moment. And I went and I started playing beats, and I was super surprised because that beat, I wasn't even going to bring it because X usually does these crazy lively records. I went out of my way to do some wild, like just, dun, 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 like craziness. And I'm thinking that's what he wants, so I'm just trying to cater to him. And we went through, and he's playing the beats, and then this beat comes on, and they look at each other, Swiss and DMX, like if they had been looking for a beat for those lyrics, because those lyrics are super old. Those lyrics originally were done on the Georgie Porgy beat on a mixtape that a Yonkers DJ was somebody else that came up with, DJ Prime, on Palisades Avenue, recorded in his bedroom. Those are the same lyrics to the Georgie Porgy beat. So X, he keeps songs and he tries to match them up with beats sometimes. So they looked at each other and he started saying it in his head, and he just looked at me, X, and he said, "Lay that." So I just got there, and he just looked at me and said, "Lay that," and I'm like, "Oh shit, all right, yeah." So I lay it, and no kidding, I got off the plane with my bag that had all my equipment in it, went straight to the studio, laid that beat that night, and he recorded it, and Def Jam was already clearing the sample and getting information. Like when it was finished, everyone felt like the energy of it. Like, Uncle Ray came to me and he was like, yo, everybody's asking who did that record. The engineer, Rich Keller, who I ended up building a good relationship with, he was like, yo, everybody's just asking who did this one. He was like, yo, Shock, you did it. You just walked in and you took the album. You took the album. Yeah, it just happened. It was magical. It really was. And it was funny too, because I just quit my job, which was a good city job, and I decided to jump in 100% into music like a week before. And and I go over there. I didn't have any money. I was like, it was like one of those moments where you take a chance, and it was so refreshing. And I was like, and I was already with my at that time we weren't married, but with my wife that we're still married. And it was like a risk. I'm like, you gotta trust me. That whole thing. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make this happen. So I had X actually call my wife, and I was like, do me a favor, just call. She wasn't my wife at the time, but we lived together. Just call her and just tell her what we just did. And he did it. He called. He was like, "Yo, your husband, this man talented." Blah, 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 the whole thing, and it was cool because it was sort of like it changed my life, and it changed a lot of people's lives too. That record, I can't tell you how many times. A couple times I was with X in the mall or something. Like people would come to him and hug him, almost in tears, for that record. And then he would go, "He's the one who did the beat," and they would come and hug me and be like, "Oh my God, this and that." And I've had so many people message me about they were in a depression. That song got them through. So that song is very, very special to me and a lot of people. And I'm very, very humbled and grateful that I was able to do that, because, the business and everything, it may not treat you right, but to make a song like that will live on forever, that to this day could get someone through a difficult moment, and that's priceless. That was what I dreamed of doing. So despite how things turn out in a business sense, I'm very grateful, and I achieved a lot just by being able to have that record that'll never go away, that still impacts people, that's to this day it carries the same weight or more than it did back then.
Mm-hmm. Quick question, Shock. Did Grover Washington Jr., how much of the record did he take? Or can you disclose that information?
I could. I think he might have did 50. I think he did 50 because between.
Oh, that's not bad.
I don't think he went too crazy. I think it was pretty fair in the grand scheme of what people can do. He seemed to be a decent human being. He passed away. He seemed to be a decent human being. Like he let us do it. He cleared the sample. I think he was, unless I'm mistaken, but if I'm at 12, that would be, yeah. He took 50, because if I'm still, because they changed the ASCAP percentages. I'm still at 12.5 now. And now it's 12.5, but before it would have been 25, because remember it used to be 200%, and then they took 100, and it was 100. Now it's actually 100%. So 12.5 is equal to 25 back then, which is, and I'm at 12.5 now. So yeah, that makes sense. It would be 50% him.
And the reason why I asked that, because Rough Riders is known for not using too many samples. But
yeah, they didn't
you know,
like that.
kind of, you know, you already laid the story down that Swiss and X, they heard it and they chose it. So
Yeah, it was too late.
So,
And then
right.
Def Jam was literally like the record was being mixed, and Def Jam's executives were getting the sample information from me, and they were already talking about that record being the same. So there was actually a struggle internally because it was more advantageous for Rough Riders to release the one with Drag On because he was going to come out on Interscope. So they wanted to drop what is it? I forgot which record, but
No Love.
Yeah, Ain't No Cats, that one. So they wanted that because it would promote Drag on a DMX level, and then they were gonna drop him on Interscope. So I mean that was a big no for Def Jam because I mean they're gonna invest in an artist that they don't even have. I mean they didn't want nothing to do with that, but still Rough Rider was yelling and screaming trying to make that happen. But Slippin' was the obvious choice. I mean when that record came out, the album, everybody was talking about Slippin'. Whether it would have been the first single or not, it wouldn't have made no difference because they could have put out that record first. It would have meant nothing because people gravitated to Slippin' immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add, P Money?
I want to know what it was like working with the Godfathers of hip hop back in '94.
Damn, you dug. Damn, you know about that? People don't even know my hits. Dang. You know about that. God bless you.
Man. Yeah.
Ooh.
What was it like working with those dudes back then?
Man, that was a breakout moment for me. Also because I'm in the Village. I'm at Electric Lady Studios. This is when I went from my basement to a studio, first time.
Okay.
So it was huge for me. Like, so I get there, and I'm like, oh, this is Jimi Hendrix. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know my history. I'm like, man, I'm looking at the setup. I'm like, man, this is crazy. And then I go in the studio, and D Square is mixing, and I'm like, damn, D Square, because you hear KRS shouting him. I'm like, oh my God, D Square is gonna mix my record. And then it's like, you know, Melly Mel and just Cool Key. Godfather Don at that time was like an underground god. So I was like, dang, it was huge for me, man. You know, that was a Raw Breed's record, and they're the ones who, you know, put that together, and they had a different beat on there, and we had a mutual friend, and he was like, yo, check my man Shock's beats out, yo, you know, because he kept saying he wanted something more gritty, something more like sort of with that real 90s kind of grittiness, and that's the stuff I was doing. And so he came and it was like, you know, he was like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for, the doom, doom. And he was like, yeah, that's what we need. And so I put the, you know, we synced it up with the old sync, you know, Simpty, and we remixed it, and that was a huge moment actually for me. The biggest moments for me in my career were that one, when I first heard an independent release that I recorded in my basement when Red Alert played it. Just because we put it in his record box. We just got stupidly lucky, and he played it for months. When I was driving down the street, and all of a sudden Red Alert played my record for the first time, you know, on the 5, you know, like the Rush Hour he had.
Yeah.
I was like, that was huge. And then the other one was Slippin'. Those three are like the bookmarks, I would say. You know, the beginning, biggest moment, a middle big moment, and then, you know, like my big run beginning that with Slippin'. Those are the giants, you know, for me that I remember.
All right, Maestro, where you want to go from here?
Well, I tried to ask I went in the chat to see if anybody had any questions for Jock before we closed it out.
Anything? Anyone? Oh, it says wait. It says wait.
What record? Okay.
Oh, okay. That's that was High Tech 24/7. So it was we did really well with that record. We did about 10,000 vinyl, Japan, you know, all over the place. It went really well for us, that record.
DJ Mark asked what equipment you use. Mark, he done said that shit like 500
During that time, I don't know, my video stopped. I don't know why, but so yeah, I mean, back then, Roland MC50. Okay, start my video. Roland MC50, you know, those classics. Kai S950. You know, those are the workhorses. You know, and then sound modules added to that. And you know, these days I use like you know, I use Ableton. You know, it's the same stuff everybody's using. There's so much out there now. It's like ridiculous. Like, it doesn't even matter. They're all amazing tools. It's almost like you got too much now, because one of the cool things about having like a minimal setup is that you really get into it and you really like learn how your box, you know, that machine works, and weird things that you have to do to make it work. Because like you have to do this because it doesn't really do that well. So, but you work around, and that becomes your sound. You know, so now it's like you have so many options. Like you can throw a plug-in on something and it goes from what it sounded like to a whole nother thing. It's just limitless now, which is great. But it's, you know, with any blessing comes a little bit of a yin yang, you know, a little bit of a curse underneath there. So, but it's great. But I would say, you know, if anybody wants to try that for a month, could be quite interesting. Like minimalize your setup and just see what happens. Could be a good thing, you know.
Okay.
I was shocked. I wasn't going to get into it, but there's a couple of questions that's been asked that might as well lean into it. What we were talking about on the phone. So, Wisdom Beats asks, "What's the number one piece of business advice you have for a producer seeking placements?" And then DJ Skinny asks, "What was the straw, if any, that made you leave the production game?"
Okay. I would say, wait, what was the first one again?
What's the number one piece of business advice you have for a producer seeking placements?
Well, it's difficult to give one piece of advice for a producer seeking placements, because seeking placements takes sacrifice. You have to give to get something. So you know, in the beginning of it, you know, you take some else. I mean, listen, and you can not listen to me because, you know, I got screwed royally. So you can totally be like, yo, well, Shocks, you know, he got screwed, so I'm not listening to him. But my advice is, and I think everybody has to at some point, and Maestro, you can chime in if anything. But, you know, in the very beginning stages, you know, like that joint I did with Godfather Don, I wasn't like, yo, how much am I gonna get? How much is it? Man, I maybe it's just because I'm such a hip hop head. Like I would have paid you to sit in that room and have D Square mix my music and have these people that I grew up listening to on my beat. I would have, if you would have said, give me $200 and I'll let you do that. I'm like, yeah. I would have borrowed $200 and be like, yeah, for any. So, I mean, that might sound dumb, but I'm not the business guy. I'm the music guy, and I embrace that. I love that, and I'm authentic about that. I don't run around here telling you I'm business. I can, you know, because the business side made it ugly to me, you know. And I'm just going to be honest about that. You know, it makes it ugly because, you know, the political parts of it, the money part of it, you know. So you have all these people who their heart beats for music, the love and the joy of it. And then you have this business and this system that protects corporations, that doesn't even allow someone like me much recourse, like who is in a situation where I'm still in court, you know, to this day, which is crazy if you think about that.
Let's take it there, Shock, because you're still in court now, and that case made the Daily News. You took Rough Riders to court for your back money. So let's talk. You know, I know with you being in court right now, there's things you can't really.
I can generalize it. Generally speaking, imagine this. You know what? Let's make. We're not talking about Rough Riders. That way, I'm free and clear. I'm gonna just do an analogy. Maestro, I work for you, and I made an agreement with you that you're gonna pay me $20 a day for when I do the work. Okay, but you got to get that money from DJ P Money. Okay, he's gonna give you the money for me, and then you got to give me the money. So DJP money gives you the money for me, and we have an agreement. But then you say, this isn't money I could use. And you're like, well, I'll just keep this, and then you just keep doing that. You just say it's not even like I got jerked. It's not even like I was stupid. It's not even like I didn't know what I signed with you, because I know you're supposed to give me $20. I'm okay with that. I signed the papers. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not even bitching and whining like the deal wasn't fair. You didn't give me the right percentage. I'm not even saying none of that. You said it was 20. Just give me my 20. So you don't give me my 20. I talked to you about it. You're like, nah, they didn't give me nothing. There's this and that, blah, blah, blah. We talk about it. Then you duck me. I go to meet you. I can't find you. You don't return calls. You don't do anything. And so you just, years and years go by. And then it's very, this is the complicated part. And this is why it's messed up, because corporations are protected, because guys like me, I want to do something about it, but lawyers don't like these cases, right? The problem with these cases is that you're an attorney in the small music business, right? So I'm trying to get, let's say I'm an attorney. Remember, this is just hypotheticals, just to keep my case clear.
Right.
It's a hypothetical. I'm an attorney, and I have an artist that I'm trying to sign to Atlantic or something, right?
Okay.
Now, I have another guy who just came to me and said, yo, there's money coming from Atlantic that I'm supposed to be getting, but this guy's getting, it's the Maestro situation with P Money and Maestro. And I'm like, yo, can you help me out? They don't want to get involved because I can't be on the phone with Atlantic or even Maestro, because I do business with Maestro, trying to work and get Shock his money. And then the next minute, yo, I want you to sign my man. It's not going to work.
Okay.
So you have this dynamic of a small business where people have to bite their tongue constantly just to survive and take those L's. And don't think that I'm not the only one in that camp that this is happening to or happened to. I'm just the only one who talks about it. So, because that's the normal, that's the normal operation. That's how it goes. So basically, what I'm trying to do, I was lucky because a lot of those attorneys want to take a ton of money up front to fight a case like this. They want 10, 15K retainer just to hit play and let's start. So I went through, and people say, why did it take you so long? That was a big part of it. I go to meetings all over the city with different attorneys, and they want all this money. Finally, it took years. It took me meeting someone who appreciated my music, actually recognized some of my music, and was like, damn, they did that to you. I love that record. And she took my case in a like love type of way, like, let's try, and didn't beat me over the head with with the financial part, because I couldn't afford it. Okay. So I'm with a situation that's going to take a long time. Whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going to get what I deserve, probably. I may or may not. Who knows? The judge can get pissed off. With these things, you just don't know. But to me, it's quite sad if you think about it. I mean, you work with these people for years. I'm not even in the documentary coming out, because I'm gonna say what the truth is. I'm not gonna say nothing else. Fine, I won't work with you. I haven't worked with you guys forever. It's not a big deal. I changed my life. I'm not dependent on the music business to eat. So I have that liberty to say what I want and what's true to me and my story. And that's also something that's important. I mean, being in the game, you have to, man, I could tell you so many stories of crazy stuff like that. But, what advice can I give you? Don't do it for money. I don't regret one moment of it. You think I regret making those records? You think I regret those moments that I dreamed of as a kid, DJing in my room? Hell no. Hell no. I don't regret 1 second of it. I don't regret a smidgen of it. Why? Because they weren't fair with me, because they hold on to my money. I didn't do it for money. Never. And if you love it that much, you're gonna get through. You're gonna be successful. You're gonna do well, and maybe you'll find some decent people. There are decent people out there in the business. I've met people, and I'm super jealous of them. I'll be quite honest with you. I've met people who've had really good people take care of them. And I'm like, damn, I don't even know. It's sort of like meeting someone, if you had like a bad parenting upraising, and then you meet someone with amazing parents, and you're like, damn, you're so lucky. You don't understand how lucky. That's how I feel when I find like other producers or artists with like really good managers who care about them, who take care of them, who make sure the deal is tight. And it's like, man, you know, wow, man, you're so lucky. You don't know, because that didn't exist in my camp. And it's like, it's the complete opposite, you know, to squash you, to make you less so that they can be more, and just utilize whatever you can give them, sort of like being treated as an asset instead of a person, or, you know, just being utilized.
You know what's crazy too, because you know, me and PK is very close, right?
Yeah.
You hear him talk the same way you talk, and he was like this with them. He grew up with them.
Yeah.
And he talked the same way. And also, remember, I was telling you, Mr. Divine, same thing.
Yeah,
Divine,
it's not just me. Yeah, it's not just me.
And who was the first one to leave?
Let me tell you something. That guy right there that you're talking about, smartest one of the bunch.
My OG.
He's the smartest. He was, you know, one thing, always a class act. Always a class act. Grease, class act, man. Day one. Even when he was at that moment, he still treated me. You know, he welcomed me when I was mixing. He did certain things to welcome me. Class act, Grease. Top. I can't say one negative thing about him. We didn't have a tight relationship, but he did. You know, men. You know how we are. Like, we got our little spaces. He would do the little things to give me a nod. You know, like when I was mixing Slippin', he came over. He moved to it. He did a little drop. And he was like, yeah. And he just walked away. It was like, that was his way to me of saying, good job, Shock. Like, and we talked about equipment a little bit. I mean, to me, that's a functional way to deal with a new person. You know, not to be like, you know, going through all this drama and stuff. And it was cool, you know. And but yeah, man, it's too bad. I mean, it's not the only camp too, because when my story came out, I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you how I can't. A lot of people reached out and were like, "Yo, this and that. How's your attorney?" And I talked to some people. I'm not gonna put them on blast because I don't know them except for that. And they were producers similar to me, and even some in later generation, and signed to these type of situations. And the same thing happened to them. We don't have any protection. It's gonna keep happening. So basically, they're like, "Yo, this is the end of the conversation," because they're still in the business, and that's why I'm not gonna say their name. Their ending was like, you're right, Shock, but I need to keep working. I need to keep eating. And the amount of money that I would get if I was to do what you're doing, that I might get, is not worth what I'm going to lose. Because you got to do math. Remember, it's a currency-based thing. And they have to do math because they rely on it. So if you think about it like this, you're like, okay, maybe I'm just arbitrary numbers. I'm going to get 40K by suing. Arbitrary, just 40K. But I got a 10K advance, another 10K advance, and I'm probably going to get on this album that's going to do well. Are you going to jeopardize that future to get 40K? Because as soon as you go for that 40K, you're cut out. You're cut out of the situation. People don't realize the complexities involved, you know, in fighting for what's yours. Keeping your mouth shut is the golden rule to success in the music business.
Unfortunately.
It sure is.
So, Shock, that takes us to Skinny's question, which was, what was the straw, if any, that made you leave the production game?
I'll tell you what the straw was, and it's going to be a little weird. When I went on my honeymoon with my wife, I had always dreamed of traveling the world. And I was getting my advances, I wasn't getting royalties, but I was getting advances, so I had some money. And I said, you know what? We made it, we discussed it. We're going to do a big wedding. We're going to do this. I said, how about we just don't do a big wedding and we do a giant honeymoon where we travel the world for a month. And that's what we did. We went to Egypt. We went to Kenya. We went to India, you know, New Delhi, Old Delhi, Rajasthan. And this is before 9/11. Let me tell you something, man. That opened me up, my spiritual life, my mind, my success-oriented, ambitious-driven ways changed my ass crazy to the point where when I got back, even Joaquin, which for those who don't know, he's one of the owners of Rough Riders, and he was the one I was the closest with. He brought me in. He was like, "Yo, Shock, ever since you came back from that trip, you're not the same." Because he used to be able to football me like a football coach, and it would work. Like he would be like, "Yo, they saying this about that. They saying you ain't bringing nothing for this album and this and that," and it would work, man. And I'd be like, "Really? All right, let me go in." And I would dig in, and like I would get, but my mind was in a whole nother place. So when the football coaching was happening, it wasn't working anymore. I was like, I don't even think I want to be here anymore. I was like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Now, I've heard that there have been situations where there was records that you was on, but because of the content of the record, you didn't like it, you didn't clear it, you didn't let it go. Is that true or false?
That's false. I mean, no, not the content. The only time I did go through an experience where I was actually in a religious cult for a little while. That's a whole nother story. Thank God I am far from that. That was a long time ago. And I got a little bit like religious, for lack of a better word. And they may be referring to that time where I didn't want to do any more new records with like the secular stuff. And that was my bad, man. I was going through a thing. And I'm thinking that's probably where that stems from, but I don't remember actually not allowing something to go. But I do remember being like, I'm not doing anything like that anymore, with the sort of like on some Grover Washington vibe. You know what I'm saying? Unless we're doing something positive, or that's what I was trying to tell them. I was like, yeah, I'll still do stuff, but they don't want to hear that because it's giving them rules and
Is that why all of the Eve records went through? Because those was different records.
No, this is after that. I wasn't even close to the cult stuff till like 03.
That's crazy how that ties in with that, though.
Yeah. No, but the Eve records, man. No, the Eve, those records. It was a great. Working on her stuff was a great experience, 100%. Like there was there was the usual stuff, but it was cool because she was such a good person that it was, despite the normal business games and baloney that was going on, it always did. It was enjoyable because she was such a good person to like work with and be around, All
right, Shock. So check this out, man. I'm not sure. Nobody's telling me nothing, but I think we probably went a little bit over.
Okay.
We gonna let the production team rock. They're gonna get on here. Some of them are gonna play beats, cool. And if you want to check their stuff out, you're more than welcome. I will not be playing anything.
All right, man. Cool.
All right. And Shock,
thank you, man. I hope I was able to, impart something that someone can hold on to. And, I was trying to be generous with what I was saying and help someone along the way in some type of way. But don't give up, Like, don't just because I said it, it's not a picnic, it doesn't mean to give up. If you love music and you love what you're doing, you don't stop doing it just because there's a lot of difficulties and unfairness. I mean, the world is unfair.
Hey, listen, I say take a time out and let your mind recharge. I do it all the time.
Yes, that's a good way to do it. Yes, if you have to, pull back, let your mind recharge, and you come back fresh, And, thank you, man. Somebody said, damn, I learned a lot from it. If one person did, I'm happy. Because that's why I did it.
There's a lot of people in the chat that they feeling the interview. A lot of people in the chat.
Good. I'm happy.
The interview to the end.
A lot of the records people did not know you did, which I had a lot of fun bringing that to the forefront because I always pick my homies up. You, Digger, PK, like I feel like y'all should be more known than some people that are known that are not as talented as y'all.
Yeah, it's marketing. It's where the marketing dollars were spent. It's intentional.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I'll stick around if you want for a bit and check out something.
Well, P Money,
what up?
You want to set it off? It's on you. The floor is yours.
All right, I'll set it off, man.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah,
else
yeah.
can get lined up and get ready.
All right. Any other Fleet producers that we have on this Fleet Producer Cafe? Go ahead and come on camera so we can bring you on. And welcome everybody, the 2020 Fleet DJ Virtual Music Conference. This is our last event of the conference. So, like I said, I'm a little sad, but it was dope. Thank you, DJ Shock, for coming through and blessing everybody. And P Money, Music Maestro, doing a great job. Let's, all right. I know we got more producers. Where's Insider?
Oh no, I might.
Insider, FM Sparks.
I see.
I can't get it on.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me get a second.
Oh no, I might play one or two joints. I don't know how it's gonna sound though. What up, Insider?
Okay.
West, what it do, baby?
We got Baby G, Wisdom Beats.
Who else is in here? So for this part of the Fleet Producer Cafe is really for the artists. I mean anybody, but artists. If you're out there, these producers are super dope. So you know what I'm saying, connect with them, network with them. Everybody, don't forget to put your social media in the chat room so we can continue to network. And whenever y'all ready.
All right, I'll set it off.
Can you turn it up, P?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, it's bad low.
Hold on.
You want us to come back to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't share your audible? I mean, damn, your audio?
Insider or anybody else that's ready to go?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You go ahead, P.
My darling, darling baby.
Who's that? Put Rico on mute.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm right here, P Money. I'll rock it, man. Can you hear me?
Turn it up, P.
All right, who's up next?
All right, Insider, go ahead. You up next? Make sure y'all follow the Fleet Producers on all.
Can you hear that, cool?
Hear it? Turn it up. Oh wait, not that part.
Yes, indeed. That's the West Coast funk. Yes, indeed, man. That's loud.
All right, who's up next?
West.
I'm a try. I don't know how this is gonna sound.
All right.
I'm gonna try. Let me see.
Yes, indeed.
I'm gonna try.
Hold on, I'll enable it if you want to do it that way.
All right, yeah. All right. Sound.
If there's any Fleet producers who just came on, so make sure your camera's turned on so that we can bring you inside of the Fleet Cafe, our Fleet Producer Cafe.
How that sound?
Nice.
Okay.
Dope.
Nice.
Who's next?
That was dope.
Yes, indeed.
If anybody needs to share your sound, please let me know.
Hi, Boo, I'm down, DJ LES.
All right, Elias. Hold on, we doing the Fleet Producer Cafe.
Hold on. Yo, Shock. Is there anything you would like to play somewhere in there? If you have anything.
Yeah, sure.
I'll dig something up. Why not?
Joe.
You have me back in the music business. I'm DJ Shock again for like a half hour
what's
here.
up, Shock? What's up, Shock?
I'm going back.
Listen to the cafe, baby.
All right, man. I guess someone else can play something, and then after that, I can find something.
Whenever you're ready.
Kill them because they're seeing the. They thought they were seeing.